We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
All right, Brandon. Brandon's planning to upgrade his TV sometime this year, but he has an older receiver that only has HDMI 1.4 inputs. His new TV will likely be 4K, simply because it's kind of hard to swing a dead cat and not hit 4K these days. He would prefer not to have to upgrade his receiver. Instead, he'd like to find a solution where he can run video directly to his TV and then audio via HDMI to his receiver without losing DTS, HDMI, and Dolby True HD audio. He knows that an HDMI splitter will only output to the lowest common resolution of connected displays. But is this an issue if only one of the connections is used for video? With a splitter, could he run one cable to a 4K TV with HDMI 2.0 and the other with audio only to the HDMI 1.4 receiver? So could he do that? Well, it depends on what your source is. Start with that. I mean,
he's thinking if each source has only one HDMI output, could he send that to a splitter, and then with the splitter's two outputs, send one just to the video, one just to the audio? No, unfortunately, that isn't going to work.
I can't think of any device that would do that, to be honest with you. If not, could you use something like the Seawall Echo split between the splitter and the receiver? Some of the devices circumvent his problem. He heard us mention the HD Fury before, but that is a lot more money. What benefits, if any, would he have over Seawall Echo?
It'll work. That would be the main benefit.
That would be the thing that, I mean, if you're looking for something that actually do the thing you want it to do, the HD Fury is kind of your go-to here.
Yeah, it really is. So there's a few things here to unpack. So first of all, how many sources that will be outputting 4K video will also be putting out DTS HD Master Audio and Dolby True HD? Because to me, there's probably one, and that's your Ultra HD Blu-ray player.
Or, I mean,
maybe a home theater PC at some point.
Or a gaming system. I mean, if he has a high-end gaming system.
Right, yeah. So
that's the only thing I can think of.
If it's an Ultra HD Blu-ray player, you're okay, because there are plenty of Ultra HD Blu-ray players that include two separate HDMI outputs themselves.
Right.
One of them is meant to go directly to your 4K display. The other one is meant to go directly to your non-HDCP 2.2 AV receiver. That's exactly what it's there for. But if you do have other sources at some point, and maybe it's an Xbox One S, maybe that's going to be your Ultra HD Blu-ray player. It only has one HDMI output, so that would make sense. Unfortunately, a splitter will not work. It's going to see that one of the connections is not HDCP 2.2, and it's going to either, the best case scenario is it says, all right, I'm just going to keep everything at 1080p. The worst case scenario, it says, your display is not HDCP 2.2, and that's all it tells you. It just gives you a black screen. That's the worst case scenario.
Not the display, the receiver.
Yeah.
The receiver is not HDMI.
But that'll be the message that comes up.
Yeah,
right? It'll say that. Now, that Seawall Echo, it claims to be a 4K upscaler, downscaler, but unfortunately, the inputs that it can accept only go up to a maximum of 4K at 30 hertz with no HDCP 2.2 protection. It itself cannot even accept a 4K 60 signal with HDCP 2.2 copy protection. Its real purpose is to, if you have, say, a 4K display and a 1080p display, and for some reason that 4K display has horrible upscaling, this will do the upscaling for you while leaving the 1080p output alone. Or if you're feeding in a 1080p and you have a second display that accepts 720p only, it'll downscale the one output to 720p. But it cannot even accept the HDCP 2.2 signal to begin with. So that's not a solution, unfortunately. The solution is the HD Fury, if you need to do this. And that is expensive. That's $250. Now, that's probably still less expensive than buying a new AV receiver.
Right. Yeah.
But honestly, that's the only two solutions.
So you need to ask yourself what's your source is going to be. If you're only going to have an Ultra HD Blu-ray player and you can live without having the newest gaming system or whatever it is that is out there,
or you have the newest gaming system but you live with less than lossless audio. Because if you're gaming, maybe Dolby Digital 5.1 is okay.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah. I mean, you can just get yourself an Ultra HD Blu-ray player like the Oppo or one of the other ones that have dual outputs, and you'd be okay.
Yeah.
For now. And then if you want to start upgrading stuff later, then between that later and the time that you actually do it would be to get a receiver. And those receivers are only going to get cheaper as time goes by. He also asks, will HDMI 2.0 devices be firmware upgradable to HDMI 2.1? Do we even know what 2.1 is going to... I think we talked about it, didn't we? Did we talk about that?
Yeah. Well, the hardware side of it, which is going all the way up to 48 gigabits per second, no.
Yeah.
There's no way to firmware upgrade something that maxes out at 18 gigabits per second to magically suddenly be able to pass 48 gigabits per second. That's not happening. Some of the features that are part of the HDMI 2.1 spec, some of the individual features that don't require 48 gigabits per second of bandwidth, potentially could be firmware upgradable. Such things would include dynamic metadata for HDR10.
Yeah.
That is one feature that is part of the HDMI 2.1 spec, but it doesn't require a whole lot more bandwidth. So it's technically possible that particular feature might be a firmware upgrade for some existing HDMI 2.0A equipment.
Would not hold my breath on
that. We don't know exactly. Yeah, I'm just saying from a technical point of view, anything that fits within the old bandwidth could theoretically be part of a firmware, because it's a feature, not a...
They could also theoretically, send a team of Swedish masseuses to your house and to give you a massage to make you feel better about the fact that they are totally not going to do any of that stuff.
Yeah, like, HDMI always says they don't really want consumers talking about spec numbers, because having an HDMI 2.1 port doesn't mean it supports anything.
Right.
A manufacturer could use that port and then say, you know what, the only thing you can pass through here is 480p and 2-channel stereo. That's it. That's all we support in this device, even though we have an HDMI 2.1 connection.
Yes.
Right. So it's up to them to say what features it supports. The spec just says what it's capable of supporting.
I'm still a little unclear as why we need so much bandwidth, to be honest with you.
Well, it's forward-looking because they're looking at 8K resolution.
I know. So. I still am dubious about whether or not we need a 4K resolution. So 8K all of this just seems like bigger numbers.
Overkill.
Well, I mean, it's like receivers. It's like, I have 120 watts. Well, I have 125. You're like, yeah, all of you, none of you put out more than 2 watts at any given time. But whatever. Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.